what makes a Stan Lee superhero different than any other superhero?
Different name. I don't know. I try to give my superheroes plenty of problems in their personal lives. So not only do they have to worry about the villain, but they have to worry about paying the rent or anything I could think of that would make them seem real. See, when I used to read other comic books, for instance, Superman, which is wonderful, but I used to feel I know nothing about Clark Kent. I don't know where he lives. Does he have an apartment? Does he have a condo? What? All I know is when he takes off his glasses, everybody says, "Oh, Superman, where did Clark Kent go?" So I tried to get a little more dimension to my characters. That was all.
Okay, so I'll ask you, do you have a favorite character that you create?
Yeah, probably Spider-Man, because I like Spider-Man. He can do things other heroes can't do, and that's pretty good.
Are you Peter Parker?
Of course. I'm Peter Parker, and all the other characters too. I'm Iron Man, and I'm Daredevil, and in my mind, I'm everybody. I'm you.
A somewhat more serious question. Where do you see comic books going in the next 10, 15 years, especially with the advent of the new platforms of digital media and so forth?
I thought the other questions were serious too. I don't know. Comic books, I think there will always be comics. I think people will always enjoy word balloons and characters and following panel by panel, because it's the closest thing you can come to a movie without seeing a movie. But you'll certainly see more of them on the internet. They'll be digital. And if any new inventions come along, there'll be that too. But I think the actual comic book, there's still something nice about holding a comic book and turning the pages and going back and seeing what you missed. And it's a nice feeling. But comics are going to be all over. And right now they're represented in the movies. So comics are just stories. And wherever there are stories, there'll be comics.
Now, yesterday at lunch we were talking about some of the other projects that are coming down in the pipe. What are some of the other superheroes that you know that they're developing films for?
All of them. They're developing. I know they're working on Doctor Strange.
Yes!
Yeah, by the hoary hosts of Hobbit, there will be a Doctor Strange. They're working on Ant-Man even. That requires a little camera. They're working on the Black Panther, one of my favorites. And they're probably working on the Inhumans and all the others. And any characters that are popular at Marvel, you can be sure somebody is writing an outline for a movie for it.
I think that's great. You were, my last question before I throw it out to the audience. You were, if I remember correctly, were the first person to give the other artists and writers credit in the actual strip itself. Why did you do that?
Well, because I was a very generous, loving person. I wanted to make the comics more like movies, and movies have credits, so I always liked the idea. Written by Stan Lee, drawn by Jack Kirby, lettered by and then I tried to make them funny, like, see if I can think of one. I tried to write something like, written with zeal by Stan Lee, drawn with enthusiasm by Jack Kirby, inked with genius by Joe Sinnott, and lettered with a leaky pen point by Art Sinnott. I always tried to make the credits something that would be fun to read too.
I think you have a lot of people out here that are glad that you did that.
I'm glad to.
So do we have a credit or a question from the audience?
We do. The first question back here about the dip.
Okay.
What could there possibly be to ask after I've said everything?
Well, no pressure now, but good morning, sir. It's an honor to get to speak with you. You have no doubt inspired generations of artists, writers, myself included, created characters that will probably live on for all time. My question is, going back to the early days of your works, because I know I have a certain attachment to some of my characters. Have you ever felt like it was really difficult for you to say, hand off your work to someone else? Because you've had so many different people work on characters that you yourself have created. Have you ever felt like a certain attachment to the point that, maybe, I wouldn't say made you sad, but, you've had so many people write the characters that you created and over the course of time, maybe more so than anyone else. Have you ever just kind of felt like maybe a loss or a sense of pride, or how does that make you feel?
Do you understand the question? Have
I ever felt bad giving a script to someone?
handing off a character to somebody else?
Yeah.
Look for a question.
Yes.
Next question.
I hated having to give the scripts over to other people, but I knew it was necessary. I couldn't write them forever. At one point, they made me the publisher, so I stopped writing and I went around the world really talking about Marvel and promoting it. Most publishers stay in the office and publish. I don't even know how to publish, so I talked about Marvel. That's what I did. And the funny thing is, when I didn't write the stories, I didn't read them. I can't tell you what any other writers wrote, because I knew I'd be unhappy. Not that they might not be even better than mine, but I would just be unhappy that I wasn't writing them. So I just don't read them anymore. People tell me what they are, and I say, that sounds good, but...
Has there ever been a story that you have written that you wanted to go back and say, gee, I wish I had changed?
Oh no, they were all wonderful. I'm my biggest fan.
I was wondering, comics kind of traditionally have been a more of a male sort of an avenue, and recently the audience has expanded a lot to include a lot of women who are wanting to see more female, different, more diverse female characters. I'm curious what you think this kind of diversifying of the comic book audience, what direction that will take the characters of comic books in the future.
Diversity. Okay, she wants to know whether a lot of more women are coming into making comic books and writing comic books, and other diverse characters. What direction do you think that will take?
Well, there are many women. I went to a class right here, a comic book class, and I think 1/3 of the people in the room drawing comics and learning to do comics, they were females. And there are more and more female characters in the comics. I think that people are beginning to realize that females are like half the population. You better pay attention to them.
Go ahead. You have to...
Back here. I'll leave it here.
How long does it take for you to make a comic?
How long does it take for you to make a comic?
Well, I used to write a comic book a day because that was what I had to write, because we had that many when we were going full steam ahead. And, well, when I say a comic book a day, that was 3 days a week, because the other days I was in the office editing, but I would stay home 3 days, and one day I'd write Spider-Man, one day I'd write the X-Men, and one day I'd write whatever else it was.
Okay, great. A question right down the front here.
Yeah, it's a great honor to meet you, Stanley. I'm a sequential arts major, and it's a big honor to meet you. I just want to ask, whenever you make cameo appearances in all your greatest Marvel superhero movies based on your work, do you feel like it's great to be with the creations that you made? Like, it must be like a great honor.
How does it feel to be, is it an honor for you to be, make the cameos in the movie with your superhero?
Oh, I love those cameos. I feel like an actor. I don't know why my name isn't in the credits. You might write to the studios and demand that they do that. And I'm waiting for them to have, at the Oscar Awards, I'm waiting for them to have an award for the best cameo of the year.
But that's unfair because you win it every single time.
Yeah, I'm the only one doing them.
We have another question.
Question right here in front again.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. I was wondering if you had a character that you've created that never made it to the comics that you wish would have made it.
a character that you've created that maybe never made it to the comics that you wish had?
No, they all really made it. I mean, they were all published. See, I was the editor-in-chief as well as the head writer. So anything I wrote as the editor, I loved it. And every other
We have another question right here.
A question down.
Hi. I just wanted to know what was the biggest challenge you had creating those characters at the time?
The biggest challenge you had creating the characters.
challenge?
Yes.
Getting them done on time. I'd be home writing and my wife would say, take out the garbage, and I'd have to look after my daughter, and there was a dog that was starting to run away. I had to catch it. That was the biggest challenge, just getting the time to write the book, because I only had one day to do it. I used to stay home Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and write. And Tuesday and Thursday, I went to the office and edited. And Saturday and Sunday, whatever needed the most, I would either run to the office if I was needed there, or I'd stay home and write on those days. So time was always the biggest challenge and the biggest enemy, because no matter how fast we worked, we were always a little bit late with something that we had to catch up on.
Did your wife ever not like something that you did, and did she ever weigh in on that?
My wife, I don't know that she ever read any of it. So.
You're very lucky.
She wasn't a big comic fan, but she enjoyed the fact I was doing it because it kept me out of her hair. She could do her thing.
As an executive producer on a number of Marvel superhero feature films and serving as co-creator of the original story and characters, you seem to be in a really unique position. I was wondering, in that position, what level of control or influence do you have over maintaining the integrity of the original story and the characters, and what level of control and influence do you want to have in that process?
What, as the creator and the executive producer on the film, what kind of creative
Very
control?
little influence. I don't butt in. Very often they'll have lunch with me with the fellow who's working on Ant-Man. I forget his name. He had lunch with me. Now I forget everybody's name. He had lunch with me the other day, and we were talking about Ant-Man. When we did Iron Man, the first time we did Iron Man, I had lunch with Robert Downey Jr., and he was asking me how I felt about Iron Man and blah, 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 and I told him. The funniest thing about my lunch with Robert Downey Jr. was the waiters in the restaurant recognized him, and they were so impressed that I was with him. And after that, when I would come to that restaurant, I always got the best table, and they treated me. So it's great having lunch with a screen star.
But now, if you see something in the script that you really don't like, can you at least express that? No.
Oh, because they don't show me the script before the movie goes out. When I go to see the movie, I'm going just like you. I don't know what the hell it is, and I can't wait to see it. What I do with my cameo, they'll call me and say, "We've got a cameo for you," and even that's a funny thing. I'll come dressed the way I dress, like a slob. And they'll say, "Go to wardrobe." And I go to the wardrobe thing, and they put clothes on me that are exactly what I was wearing. So I'll say, "Why couldn't I wear these?" "Oh no, it has to come from wardrobe."
Do you do it in one take, or does it take you a couple times?
Oh no, I'm one take lead. Wait till you see I have the funniest cameo you ever saw.
Can you tell us what it is?
No, if I could tell you I would, but they'd kill me.
What if I stand in the way of the bullet? Would that be okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have one last question.
So you've created the Marvel Universe and you're working with PAL now. What else is left? What do you have for your future? What are your plans for the future?
You've done it all. What are your plans for the future, basically? Is the
To come to more places like this. This is fun. It's great. I think you people are wonderful. I had a great time, and I love your enthusiasm, and I love the fact that you translate the questions for me.
Well, we want to thank you so much for being part of our community. That's it. You've got a plane to catch.
Hey, I loved every minute, and obviously I can't leave without big Excelsior!